I'm Henrik de Gyor. I'm a chief consultant for Another Dam Consultancy, also co-founder for mydamservices.com, where we offer synthetic media services and things that digital asset management doesn't do, like metadata and things like that. I'm also a speaker, like what I'm doing right now. Podcaster of 9 different shows, including one on synthetic media called Synthetic Media Podcast, and author of 9 different books, including one about synthetic media. So there's that podcast and there's that book for those of you who are interested. A little bit about generative AI. There's a lot of generative AI, and I'm just going to cover a few of these that where it is of interest to the DMLA community specifically. And I created some examples as well, just so people who haven't explored it can understand a little bit more. But there's everything, and this might be too small the font for a lot of you, but everything from platforms to creative tools to synthetic data generation, coding, writing, marketing and sales copy, text and data, text to image, which we'll talk about, design, which we won't, ad collateral, image editing, and audio editing, speech to text, text to speech, music generation, and lots of video too. So I'll cover a couple of those with some examples today, just to give you a sample. So ChatGPT, very popular, came out right around Thanksgiving of last year. It is one of the fastest growing platforms ever. It's outran TikTok. I actually created a quick video of me using ChatGPT today, of just typing in anything you want. It is free to use. There is a new paid platform as well if you want preferred access at $20 a month, and that may go up in theory. But basically, it creates text. You ask it a question, it creates text. Any text you want.
We're just seeing your LinkedIn here. I think you might maybe have the wrong monitor up there.
Oh, you see my okay, wrong. I apologize. Let me share again. Apologize. Thank you.
And thanks, Paul, pointing that out.
Yep. Let's try again. Can you
see
now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let me start over. So basically, I asked it ChatGPT to see some of I asked it a question like, what is? I asked a generative AI tool, what is generative AI, and it's creating the text from scratch. It is not pulling it from the web. It is actually not currently connected to the web. It is pulling from a data set. It is hundreds of billions of points of data that are generating information, original information. It is not regurgitating from what was already created, like when you do a Google search. And this is what is worrying Google and Microsoft, because it is not supplying you a link to just go through a series of links, which may or may not be what you relevantly want. This is exactly what you asked for. Is it 100% accurate? No, and neither is Google or Microsoft, and that's okay. But it is a vastly interesting thing, so much so that Microsoft is now including it in Bing. And Google has already have a separate tool that is going to be offered very shortly called Bard, that will be in competition with this tool. So there'll be competition, and they'll be one-upping each other with different data models where it'll be creating stuff. Just fast forwarding, if you don't like the answer, you can regenerate the response and get a different response. And it gives you a completely new response to your question. But this comes into prompt engineering, which is a new term, where it's how creative and how specific is your question. And this challenges us, honestly, to be more creative and more specific, because I can ask a very generic question, or I can be hyper specific, and it'll go down to that needle point that I'm interested in. So that's just a quick glimpse into ChatGPT. We've probably heard about this one. This is DALL-E. These are just a couple samples from the DALL-E website. It is also free to use. It is also from OpenAI, openai.com. And this is a difference between, at the top, you can see a fox. painting of a fox sitting in a field at sunrise in the style of Claude Monet, which I believe some of the previous panelists mentioned. There's iterative changes that are coming, both in quality and quantity, and as well as the output where you can take a style and you can do anything with whatever is a known style, and you can make it into whatever you want. So it is opening up a lot of windows, and it's removing the technical barriers that previously existed. And I'm going to explain that a little bit more. So here, I don't have to know anything about painting. I don't have to know anything about photography. And plenty of our potentially our clients in question don't know anything about it, but they need an output. They want a very specific image, and now they can generate it. Now, these are low quality for now, and that will likely change very, very soon. As far as text to image, here's a quick video just showing Bria, which is going to be used by a known company very soon, where we are all familiar with the typical search for an image, and you can search for an image, but now you have a button right next to it, which says generate. Did you see that? So if you didn't see exactly what you look for, you can see this video has a generate button right next to it. So if you don't know exactly, you didn't find exactly what you want, it'll generate you new images based on the existing images. Now that has implications back to what Ian was talking about. And that'll be likely challenged to one degree or another. We'll see if it has the right implications versus and making more sales and royalties being shared appropriately. However that might look like, we're not sure yet. It's a fairly grain field at this point. So it'll be really fascinating to watch both the lawsuits and the innovations that happen, and if that generates more, or if it has reoccurring positive or negative effects going forward. But it is a change that's going to continue happening, like Hans and other panelists have mentioned. Another example is image to text. You feed it a series of still images, it will create you a video. Like here's a video from DreamX where I want to create an image based on these of a walking bear. Now you can imagine if you're a 4-year-old, that would be a dream, right? I can see my teddy bear walking just with a few pictures of it. That's amazing, right? Now our imaginations can go even further than that, but that's just one sample. And you can actually see an image of the bear based on these images walking around. Another example, I actually created this video specifically for this using this tool called Colossian. There's a number of different text to video tools out there where you can basically offer, you can pick an avatar, a synthesized actor. These are real people that have been synthesized, basically how they move and what they look like in every angle, potentially speaking. And then you give it a script, you give the tool a script, and then within minutes, the avatar says what you want.
Hi, I am Jennifer.
Can you hear this?
I'm one of the many avatars
Yes,
or
sure.
synthetic actors at Colossian.com. I would like to welcome the DMLA community before I show this example of text to video. To create a video in minutes, simply pick a synthetic actor like me or many others. Next, type in a script for me to say.
You can choose my voice and add other media to communicate what you want within minutes. The possibilities are only increasing. Try it out and see for yourself. Enjoy the rest of the webinar today. Thank you.
So that's one example of text to video. And then I wanted to show you one of the most amazing things that I saw as of last year. This is an example of speech to speech. So we're all familiar with speech translation as far as text. This singer named Aloe Black, that's his stage name, actually had his voice and his person, he was synthesized as a avatar, and his voice was synthesized to be translated into multiple different languages. So give that perspective a little bit. If you're a singer and you only sing in English, how do you expand your audience into other languages, even though you don't speak those languages? This example is one of those examples where this person only speaks English, as far as I know. He will start his song, the same song, in Mandarin, then go into Spanish, and then end in his native English. But it will be his voice the entire time. Watch this. And I'll fast forward through it. So that's Mandarin. Spanish. Mis ojos cierro hoy. La vida es el juego de todos. El premio es la amor. Despierta toda de mí. Solo. When I'm and I wonder. All this time. And now. Didn't know I was wrong. So that's an example of synthetic video and audio and translated audio. Now, in the back end, which I found out how, because I spoke to the companies that made this video and the audio change. Some of them actually already won Emmys and other things for obvious reasons beyond this video, because they worked on Star Wars and a few other movies that they can't speak about. But the way they did this is they had someone sing in their native language, then they dubbed. He didn't lip sync anything. They actually moved his lips the way they needed to say the words that were coming out, that were said. But basically, 3 people actually sang the song in their native tongue. The Mandarin speaker or Mandarin singer was actually a female, but they dubbed his voice into his own voice. So they took 3 speakers, 3 singers, and they matched it up to his voice. So they can basically, you can dub your voice into anyone else's now, as long as they're synthesized. And of course, the minor detail that we haven't talked about is consent, right? That's the biggest thing that you have to have in order for this. And Ian can probably speak to this even more so, and we can continue the conversation past this, is as long as you have consent, you can do a lot of things. If you don't have consent, and a lot of this was popularized when you didn't have consent, that's what happened when we had deepfake porn and things like that, which is the beginnings of the deepfakes and continuing, because that's where this ended. But long story short, this is me. This is what I've done so far. Feel free to reach out, and we can continue the rest of the conversation.